Hello, how are you today? Do you want to dive into a book that might just surprise you? Whether it becomes your next favorite or one you might skip? Let's find out what readers are saying about it.
Ali L, who has 199 likes, says, a college student who likes being bossed around in bed starts to bang her friend's ex. Which is the kinkiest part of the book? Scarlett or Vandy? Or Scar Van? Or whatever her name is in this Dostoevsky-esque nickname. Nightmare is just like every other Ali Hazelwood female lead, in that she's supposed to be a strong feminist girl boss but is actually kind of an insecure, uncommunicative mess who hates herself and only figures things out after she meets a man. Lucas Bloomquist, naturally, is every other Ali Hazelwood male lead, in that he's super tall and apparently clairvoyant. I am no kink expert, but I do feel that one should be in a healthy headspace before entering a BDSM relationship with a virtual stranger. And Scarlett is not. I couldn't actually tell you anything about these two because they don't really have personalities so much as they are a collection of things they say and do, which mostly involves Lucas telling Scarlett what a good girl she is and Scarlett calling Lucas by his full name when she isn't crying every other page. Additionally, while it's admirable that Scarlett is in therapy for her diving block, perhaps she should also be focusing on her overwhelming, paralyzing fear of men, because it seems like that would also be a big deal. It wasn't bad, exactly. It just probably would have been better if it had been called Wet. Thanks for nothing. Berkeley. Ivy, who has 250 likes, says, 1.5 stars. This review will contain spoilers. BC, I need to rant. I started this book with an optimistic feeling. However, it quickly let me down from there. From Check and Mate and this, I feel like me and Ali's writing just don't mesh, which is a shame because I am trying so hard to get the hype around her books. There were just so many issues in this book that it made it hard to enjoy the actual good parts. Tropes, sports romance, swimming plus diving, best friend's ex, college romance marketed as slow burn. But it's really insta love. My biggest gripe with this book was the unnecessary drama, especially coming from the ow trope. I was neutral, liked Penn Lucas X at first, but she became so clingy and weird after the 60 or 70% mark. Please tell me why she suddenly started becoming all possessive of Lucas and trying to one-up herself against Scarlett for him? Like girl. Also, I hated her for stealing Scarlett's gold medal moment that she literally worked so hard for. After her huge injury, she was also so condescending towards Scarlett and Lucas' relationship. And for what? He's not gonna get back together with you, bestie. Scarlett and Lucas were cute together. IDK. I don't think they had any real chemistry. Just sexual chemistry. I'd say 75% of their relationship consisted of them doing it and no real getting to know each other and emotional bonding. Their relationship was also super insta lovey, lusty, which I hate in books. I like them both separately as characters, but them together is just ehhh. TBH, I feel like they both could do better. The writing, oh my gosh, it was just so boring and repetitive, and I seriously considered DNFing it 70% through because every time I would finish a chapter I would take a 30-minute break and reconsider if I wanted to continue. This is the reason it took me almost 2 weeks to get through. If this book was shortened, it would have been much better. Overall, I don't recommend. Not only was this tedious to get through, but the characters were dry and forgettable. Something that I did like about this book is the swimming plus diving representation. We barely get anything. I can happily say that Ms. Ali did do her research on this. At least the swimming aspect of it, which was the best part of this book. Marie, who has 231 likes, says, reading this was low-key depressing. Not sure what I was expecting though looking at this premise. Scarlett is part of the diving team at her university. struggling with an old injury, and so many other things. She's also into BDSM. She finds out that Lucas, the star of the university's swim team and her teammate Penn's ex-boyfriend, is also into BDSM. Scarlett tells Penn about her preferences, which then leads Penn to suggest that Scarlett and Lucas should hook up because they are both into BDSM, and obviously that means they are perfect for each other. So the two of them slowly but surely start to get it on. But Penn decided that she and Lucas can only secretly break up and have to pretend that they're still together in front of everyone else because it's more convenient for her that way. And Scarlett and Lucas go along with it. That's just fine for everyone involved in this weird little triangle. I could not for the life of me understand why they seemingly didn't care about this. Throughout this whole book, none of these people seemed even remotely happy. It was such a drag to read. I mean, I guess you could say it was really angsty. And I know some people are into these kinds of books. But I am not. To me, it was just frustrating. The characters were so unlikable. I wanted to like Scarlett. She was at least a somewhat well-rounded character. But she was so down on herself all the time. And sure, she struggled with a lot of stuff. But it became very exhausting to read from her POV. Like, this is supposed to be a romance. At some point, I want to be happy while reading. Lucas gave me nothing. He was so bland and boring. And he felt like every other MMC this author has written. I mean, he was Swedish and tall and he knew how to swim. Great. That's not enough to make me care about him. As for Penn, all I am going to say is I wish she wasn't in this book. It just didn't really feel like a romance to me. In general, like, where was the romance? Nothing even remotely romantic happened. Scarlett struggled with everything, and then she and Lucas started fucking while Penn, for some unfathomable reason, was still somehow part of this. And not in a hot way, besides the unlikable characters and the non-existent romance. My biggest issue with this was the whole BDSM angle. Because if you spend like 150 pages talking about how kinky and depraved you are, mentioning BDSM in every chapter, the sex really has to deliver. And then all they did was engage in some lame-ass dirty talk and one cringy spanking? What a joke. One last thing no one is going to care about, but it annoyed me SM. Scarlett had to take a language class and chose German. And she's bad at it. This came up a few times and I hated everything about it. First of all, her teacher's name was Herr Karl Heinz? That's not a last name. Karl Heinz is a very old-fashioned first name. Also, he called her Charlotte in his emails. When I read this, I honestly wanted to DNF right then and there. Because WTF is this? Charlotte is the German word for scarlet fever. The word for a disease. Like, why would he ever call her that? It makes no sense. It's just super weird. I guess the author somehow figured out that Scarlet translates to something in German and thought it would be cool to include it without knowing what it means. Feels kind of ignorant, NGL. Also, no way did she get a fucking A on her exam when some weeks ago she had to Google what the most basic German sentence "Ich bin so stolz auf dich" meant. ______. I am going to regret this, but it was right there on Libby. What was I supposed to do? Emmy Rosem, who has 479 likes, says, Pros. I love Ali Hazelwood's writing. I will read absolutely everything she writes. Olive and Adam cameo. Binged in one sitting. Cons. Everyone sucked. Genuinely hated both female characters. Short chapters were sometimes half a page and felt so random. I thought pages in my book were missing. Regular therapy chapters with zero growth or development. Infuriating. His pet nickname for her was Troll. Overall thoughts. If you like Ali Hazelwood, it's still worth a read. It's not super kinky but realistic for 21-year-olds in college. If you don't like Ali Hazelwood or haven't read her other books, maybe don't start with this one? Page Semi-Hiatus, who has 208 likes, says, I think this might be the best Ali Hazelwood book I've read. This doesn't say much since it's only 3 stars. But hey, a win is a win. Lucas was my favorite. He was emotionally mature, said what he thought, and was unapologetically himself. He communicated his thoughts and feelings very clearly throughout and was always there for the women in his life. Even though he was a soft dom, he delivered, and I found his confidence, not arrogance. Very attractive. Scarlett got on my nerves because she was so insecure. On one hand, she's driven and intelligent, but she was always putting herself down and comparing herself to others. I did enjoy the storyline around her mental block and fear of men. The friend's ex trope didn't bother me as much as I expected because Scarlett and Penn weren't close, and Penn was on board with it. Penn struck me as one of those girls that loves attention, so I saw the third act conflict coming early on. Thankfully, it didn't drag on for too long, and Lucas' security helped speed this along. I did enjoy the diving, swimming aspect to this story, so it felt different to her normal style. Although she did stick to her trademark science talk. I'd be interested to see Ali explore other sport romance genres. I loved the short chapters. It made me get through this book fairly quickly. I actually didn't find this as instant love cringy as some of the other Ali books I've read. Things I didn't enjoy. The lack of kink? After all that talk about how kinky this was, it read like most other spicy contemporary romances. I think they spoke more about their kink list, more than what they actually did. I got the impression more happened off page, and I wish Ali just committed and backed up the talk. I also wish their kink list was on page, because apparently it was just soft dom, sub. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just not what I expected based on how it was advertised. This is just my opinion, and I know some people will feel differently that aren't used to reading this. The troll nickname, Bestie. This is not cute and is a new one for my list. I did a little research because I was so confused by this choice. While it might mean good luck in Swedish culture, I couldn't get amongst it. The constant tear licking? This book taught me a new word, dacrophilia. Google at your own risk. Scarlett's insecurity. She brought up Penn's name 5,383 times, which was giving high school girl behavior. Lucas was obsessed with Scarlett, so why ruin every moment by bringing up his ex when they weren't constantly talking about Penn? I enjoyed their moments together. The writing, while it wasn't as cringy as usual, it was still clunky. I had to go back and read pages a few times because I couldn't work out what she was trying to say. Overall, I liked it more than I didn't, but there was nothing special about it. Thanks so much to my bestie Krista for suffering with me. The fact that we finished it and didn't rate it 2 stars is a win. My rankings. Deep End 3 stars. Love Hypothesis 3 stars. 2 Can Play 2.5 stars. Cruel Winter with You 2 stars.